Hello. Hello. Welcome to week three of the four pillars we're talking about. And um, this week, I was having a little bit of imposter syndrome. I will just let you guys know. It does not matter how long you've been with Plexus or what your rank is. You still have those moments where you just feel a little some kind of way about it. And so with that being said, the reason why I was feeling that way is because my business is not in a place that I would love for it to be. And I take a lot of responsibility and accountability for that. And so when you're talking about leadership and leading people, that's just a tough one to talk about, but it's something that I'm super passionate about. And so, like anything else in this business, I am working through those feelings that are not facts, but also I am just working through the fact that I can still share about this, even though I might not feel like I'm doing the very best at it at the moment, but it's always something that you want to work on doing better. So, that being said, leadership is an action, it's not a position. It doesn't matter what rank you are in, what place you're at. You don't, you're not given leadership to yourself. You have to earn it. You have to earn your place with people. And that's what I want to talk about tonight specifically. And with this week, leading with the heart, I feel like this is the one pillar where it is a lot more about your mindset and your heart set versus actually having like specific systems and things in place and super specific actionable items. So I want to like talk to you guys from that place and just kind of work our way through it because it's so important in this business. Um, this is just kind of the overview for tonight. So we're going to touch on these things. So our mindset surrounding leadership, leading yourself, leading others, and cultivating culture. This is a little picture of me from 2.5 years ago, I want to say. That was at Leadership Excellence, which is an amazing training that corporate provides when you become a jewel that you get to go to. It's good night, buddy. It's like 2.5 days long, and it was one of the most rewarding and fulfilling things that I've ever participated in this business. No, go on. Um, anyway, so that I hope all of you aspire, obviously, to become a jewel for whatever motivators you have and the things that you want to attain to get to that level. But the wonderful thing when you get to that level is that you are provided with amazing, amazing training and just things that can fill your cup that you can then go take down into your team. And that is so important. So, uh-oh, I gotta get my, oh no, oh no, hold on, we lost it. Come on. Okay, we're back. So, um, before you become a leader, success is all about growing yourself. In other words, as an example, when I started this business, it was all about me. I was so excited for me. I loved doing it for me. I just was pumped at every customer I got. I would text Kim, oh my gosh, another person messaged me. Oh my gosh, I got another customer. And it was just like me, me, me. I'm going to get to gold in 3 months, and then I'm going to become an emerald in a year and a half, or whatever timeline I had set for myself. So this quote hits home for sure. Before you become a leader, success is all about growing yourself. After you become a leader, success is about growing others. And boy, is that so true. Um, when it comes to leadership, one of the biggest things is the fact that nobody is coming to rescue you. Leadership is a muscle you have to work. It's something that you continually have to build. And exactly for the reason of what I just said, I've been doing this for 7.5 years, and to a lot of people have reached a certain level of success that so many would love to. And still, I have those little fear stories and those little doubts in the back of my mind. So when it comes to leadership and leading people and being at the forefront and being somebody who's willing to step into the uncomfortable conversations, those are things that you have to continue to work on. Nobody can do that for me. Nobody can. I mean, I can get training to become a better leader, but ultimately I have to choose to step into that. And I also have to control my output every day. Are you all in no matter what happens? I feel like the easy default answer to that is yes. We've been through rough seasons, every single one of us. I've watched so many of you specifically go through rough seasons of life and rough seasons of business. Are you all in if your strong leg walks away? Are you all in if your upline walks away? Are you all in if your diamond upline would just not be around anymore for you? How far are you in? Are you all in no matter what happens? How do you feel about leadership? And how do you view yourself as a leader? These are two super important things because leadership is not something that innately comes natural and super easy to everybody. Some people are born with leadership qualities. That is something that I mean, I feel passionate about leadership because it's something that I really enjoy. I've always enjoyed being in a leadership position. When I was younger, probably was called bossy. You know, when my sisters and I would play school and make believe anything, I was always the adult. I was always the teacher. I was always the one that was like just causing the production to move on and dictating exactly what was happening with it. And so leadership for me, it's always come easy. I was captain of my sports teams, and that's not the case for every single person. And you might be like that. You might be somebody where you don't innately feel like a leader. Maybe you are a little bit of an introverted personality, and so that's hard for you to feel like you want to step in the spotlight because you don't really want to. Maybe you're somebody who is just a little more shy and quiet and reserved, and so leadership feels like a position that's not meant for you, and that is not true. And I want to empower you to believe that no matter what your personality, what your Enneagram type, um, your success, your perceived levels of success, no matter how your duration of how you've been in Plexus, your rank, the amount of customers you have, it doesn't matter. Where you're at right now, you are capable of being the leader that your people need, and you are capable of developing your skills in order to become a leader that you would want to follow. A little bit of a gut check question for you. What would your team say about you as a leader over the past 3 to 6 months? And that might be a tough one for some of us. Well, how about through 2024 so far? Because we're heading into month 9 pretty soon. So you've had 8 months of this year. How have you shown up? And what would your team say about you? Honestly. And are you open to that feedback? And then moving past that, good or bad, what type of leader do you aspire to be by the end of this year? I want to see my participant video, and I don't think I can. I can't see you guys anymore. Hold on just a second because I'm going to check the chat. I can't do both of those at the same time. Okay. Which just didn't pop out every single time. So those are just some questions to think on as far as like an overview of leadership and the specifics of what you need to get into in order to not only believe that you can be a good leader, but then actually develop those skills to be the leader that you want to be. So talking specifically about an obstacle mindset versus an opportunity mindset. The average adult has 12 to 60,000 thoughts per day, which is a lot. And that's a vast range. So, but it's a lot. Even on the low end, you are probably inactively having a minimum of 12,000 thoughts a day. That's an average. 80% of those are negative. Now, I want to believe in this culture and in this company, in this community, we all value and pride ourselves on being positive thinkers, positive people. We go out into the world and we like to put positivity out there. So maybe our number is not quite that high, but innately for most people, of those, let's say 20,000 thoughts a day, 80% of those are negative. 95% of those thoughts are repetitive, which means, and I'm not going to try to do the math on that, but I know enough to know that those are really high percentages. So if somebody's having all of those thoughts throughout the day and 80% of those are negative, and then it just sits there on this rinse and repeat cycle in their head, that's something that's really, really tough to work through and it's tough to get out of. And so you constantly feel like you're having to overcome these obstacles and you get stuck in that place super, super easy. And then that translates to the rest of your team. It translates to how you approach your business. It translates to how you approach your social media. And so one of the things that I wanted to share about was this, it's called the drama triangle. Um, and this is from a book called Success Principles. And so as leaders, typically, as it says in the middle of the triangle, it says you'll move around this triangle until you become aware and you choose otherwise. But most of the time, we will end up falling into one of these three categories. And so I'm going to read through these and I'm going to talk about the thought process with these. And I want you guys to be super, super honest about this. And if you're willing to, super vulnerable, and put in the chat which category you feel that you are in currently. And I want to emphasize, I would love for you to be super honest with yourself about that. And if you don't feel comfortable putting it in the chat, maybe write that down and have it be a topic that you talk about with your upline privately, or you're more than welcome to message me as well. And so these are the three different categories then that people can fall into typically when you are in an obstacle mindset versus an opportunity mindset and working through those things, but in a leadership position. So the first one that I want to touch on is the persecutor. So they're the finger pointer. They blame and they point fingers. It's all your fault. They're critical. They put other people down. They're usually driven by anger or resentment, so they can still be successful and they can still lead a team. It just probably isn't the healthiest environment, and they can also be bossy or dominating. Persecutor thinking, they do not value other people. They can be hostile. They can stunt their team growth and or be hurtful to their team growth. Let me clarify it as well. When you decide to pick which category you feel like most closely resembles you at the moment, I want to tell you that this does not define who you are. It does not define your character. So this is not like a shame spiral activity where I'm asking you guys to get in there and just be like, wow, oh my gosh, I really just like don't care about other people and I'm a really hostile and individual. That is not what this is about. And so hopefully we can all just take that with a grain of salt, but it's super important to be very self-aware of these things and be able to place yourself in one of these three categories so that we can be aware and then choose differently. So the fix for the persecutor specifically, so if you feel that you might be in this category of blaming your team, not taking responsibility for where your business is at right now, the fix for that is curiosity. Are you open to feedback, honest feedback from your team if you were to ask them, if you were to step into that discomfort and ask them what they think about your leadership or, you know, and truly be open to that and receptive to it without being combative. So if they say some things that are probably a little bit hard to chew on or a little difficult to hear, are you at least open to hearing that and just kind of accepting that and then sitting with it and processing through it on your own? But just being open to that feedback and the idea that you are not the end all be all, you do not know everything, you don't have it all figured out, and you alongside your team, you are just working to learn. The next one is the victim mentality. And this one's like a super easy one to slide into, I think, for a lot of people. Nothing's my fault. So instead of blaming other people, you just kind of like don't take responsibility. There's a poor me attitude. You aren't putting problem solving skills to good use. You don't necessarily have a care to figure out those problems. It's like, I don't know why I feel that way. And just business is like so hard now, and it just is what it is. Maybe that is a place that you've been in recently. You find it difficult maybe to find joy or pleasure in areas of life or business. And sometimes you might be feeling helpless or hopeless or even ashamed about where you stand with your business. With the victim thinking, it can be really toxic and it can impede growth. You believe your circumstances are out of your control. You believe others cannot be trusted. You lack personal accountability and you might have a low self-worth or be fear focused. Um, and the fix for this, for that victim mentality, if you find yourself in that, is accountability and self-awareness. So instead of, if you find yourself saying those things or feeling like, woe is me, life happens to me, I don't know what, I don't do anything wrong, but it's just not going to happen for me. If you find yourself in that place, I would really encourage you to take accountability, work on taking accountability for the things that you can control, and self-awareness. And then the third category in our drama triangle is rescuer thinking. This is a sneaky one. This is a sneaky one, you guys, because overall, I feel like it rescuer mentality, it comes from a good place. Like we want to help people. I believe every single one of us, and I would not be surprised if so many of you place yourself in this category. And I would say this is probably the category just to be vulnerable and put myself in one because I'm definitely not in like the best place right now, but I feel like the rescuer would be most closely related to me for this year so far, the last couple of months. Um, After saying that, it's hard to read these things, but I'm going to. You provide emotional support for them. You make them feel needed and capable. You take their mind off of their problems, but in actuality, you could potentially be enabling the victim to remain the victim. So if you're helping somebody who's in that position and they aren't helping themselves, and it's your responsibility as their leader to help them, but you're just trying to fix things for them, you could just end up enabling them to kind of stay in the position that they're in. You have little to no value for helping or for others to help themselves. It can seem pure, but ultimately it is focused on self instead of leading and guiding others. They're more focused on solving their problems for them. And this can stem from a desire to help, but it can lead to unhealthy dynamics. The fix for this one, if you find yourself or feel like that is most appropriate for you, the fix for this is to work on empowering other people. So instead of rescuing them, instead of like, oh, I can do that for you, or I'll take care of that, or you've got a lot on your plate and like, I'll just handle it. Instead of fixing things for them or just taking control constantly, empower them. So even if they are in a difficult place and they are struggling or showing up in business for them is super hard right now for whatever reason, you can work on encouraging them. You can offer them support. You can offer them guidance. There's so many other things that you can do for them and offer to them besides just give it to me and I'll take care of that. And that's one that I struggle with because I feel like I'm doing what's most helpful for them, but ultimately I'm not pushing them in the direction that they need to step back into to take action for themselves, in which case they're probably sitting in that victim side of the triangle, and I'm not helping them to move out of one of those places, but rather just keeping both of us kind of in limbo in the rescuer and the victim spot. I will be very interested to go back and read the chat for that. Okay, so when it comes to leadership, before you can lead anybody else, you have to learn how to lead yourself, you guys. You have to be consistent. Consistency is absolutely crucial in this business. It is something that we talk about in every single pillar, and it just is necessary. Consistency establishes your reputation. Consistency is the spelling error. Sorry, that just caught me off guard. Consistency is a prerequisite to excellence, and consistency builds confidence. So, a couple of questions for you to think on. Okay, go to bed. Go to bed. Go lay there until you fall asleep. Go lay there until you fall asleep. Thank you.
Do you have any sleep?
Nope. Go lay there. Do you have any sleep? Oh, Lordy. Okay. Couple of questions that you can ask yourself. If you want your team to show up in a certain way and you feel frustrated with your team, make sure that you are walking the walk and not just expecting things of them, but you're not doing them. So, what does your plexus reputation look like? And do you view it that way? I think that's the other thing is like, it's easy to find reasons to not get on calls. It's easy to find reasons to just skip out on your social media for the day or pretty much come up with an excuse for almost anything. And that's your reputation. When I was typing this up, that was like a huge reality check for me because for me personally, lately, I feel like my thing that I'm struggling with big time is balance. It's getting a little bit better now that my two older kids are back in school. But I just am struggling with balancing all of the hats that I wear. And so what I've been doing then is being inconsistent. And I have not been showing up on my social media consistently and daily and doing the things that I want to do to market and share passionately and excitedly about Plexus. And that is my reputation. And I have to take accountability for that. So, do you show up on calls? Do you lead calls? Do you run groups and events? Do you look or ask for opportunities to step up and lead? You do not have to be a jewel in this business to be doing things, running things, initiating things. You also can totally ask for a place to get yourself into if you do want to step up into a position like that and have some responsibility. Are you active in your team chats and pages daily? Daily, you guys. You cannot. Now, let me say, this is not to be confused with the fact that you're not allowed to have any time off in this business. I absolutely think that you should have healthy boundaries with your business and not be accessible 24/7. However, you cannot then play the flip side of that and say, well, I'm going to respond to messages at the end of the night whenever I'm able to. And so people are waiting 8 to 10 hours to hear back from you. You cannot wait all day long to answer questions in your team chat because sometimes people need those questions a little more quickly. Does that mean you have to pick up your phone every single time it dings to be able to answer something? No. I hope you have some sort of leadership team in place that you can count on multiple people to be manning that, but you should absolutely be getting in your team chats daily, participating, showing up, making sure people know who your name is. And a good way to think about this is if somebody new got added into your team, and let's say that is in like your levels 2, 3, 4, like they're a little removed from you. So you personally do not know who they are, and they don't know who you are. If they got added into your team chat, would they know who you are? Would they have an idea that you might be someone of importance to the team? Would they know that they could count on you to be somebody that would answer questions when they have them or that needs some guidance when they're needing some guidance? Would you be that person? Um, those are just some things to ponder on. Are you consistent on your social media? That's the last question there. But mostly, you guys, you have to lead yourself before you can lead other people. And so one of the things that I want you guys to work on, your activity and some homework for you, is your personal inventory. You get the best out of others when you get the best out of yourself. And so if you're not getting the best out of yourself, you need to lower your expectations for your team. Point blank, end of story. And if you want higher expectations for your team and you want more output and you want more excitement from them, then you have to be that person to set the tone and set the pace. And then they will fall in line or they will fall out of line. And you will find the people who are ready to rock it and they're ready to work. They're ready to head into cruise contest season excitedly and they're hustling and they're doing the things that it takes. So I want you to work on this in the next day or two here and then report back to whatever chat you are most active in at the moment in your team. Two things that you need to start doing. So you're not doing them currently, or maybe you're just not doing them super consistently currently. I would even say you need to write down two specific things that you can pinpoint that you need to start doing. Now, I will also say I would like to encourage you to have these things be a little bit leadership related. I was going to try to flip and find where mine was at so I could just share. Yeah, okay. So I could just share what mine were. Now, this was 2.5 years ago, so mine would probably be a little bit different right now. And I have not done this activity, but I plan to in the next couple of days, just like you guys. So my two things I wrote down at that point in time to start doing was that I needed to start doing daily relationship building. So it was something that I was either not doing or just like not doing well. It was kind of a fair weather activity. And consistency on social media instead of bursts. Still true. That would probably still be on my start list. So I want you to like really pinpoint and narrow down two things that you need to start doing, which means you can start doing them because it's only two things. Then I want you to take a personal inventory and write down two things to stop doing. This may or may not be related to business. I found 4 things 2.5 years ago. It was not just 2 things. I found 4 things to write down that were on my list at that point in time, which the first one was Netflix during the day. I don't do that anymore. So apparently I mastered that skill, which is great. And I spend my time doing a lot of other stuff that's more productive. Netflix during the day. I needed to stop avoiding work. I was doing that at that point, apparently. Procrastinating, whether that was related to work or not, I'm not sure. But that's definitely a character flaw that I have that I am continuing to work on. And staying up late. So I was not prioritizing getting my sleep, adequate sleep and rest for myself each night. And so that was something that I wanted to stop doing. You might find more than 4 things, but you at least need to find 2 things that you need to stop doing that are hindering your growth and your success to some degree. And then the last is that I want you to identify 2 things to grow. So for me at that point, it was team relationships through daily effort. I really wanted to place more of a value on building relationships with the people on my team, no matter what level they were in, getting to know them, knowing some of their story, not just their name and their face on Facebook. I wanted to learn about who they are, what's important to them, what they value. And I feel like I've done a pretty good job of that. I have many good relationships with the people on my team because of that effort. So I feel good about that. And then the second thing I wrote down that I wanted to grow was encouragement and vision casting. So just doing a lot better job.
I've been doing
Okay.
my role blanket.
I need you to go to bed and not interrupt me again.
You're sweating.
Go. I'm not playing with you, dude. Go.
Can you turn the AC down?
No, the AC is down. Oh my God.
Turn it down more then. Turn it down one, please. I'm sweating.
Okay. I think patience is going on my list, you guys, of things I need to grow because wow. Okay. Please do this within the next 48 hours. I'm going to challenge you. You have a deadline, 48 hours. So like, let's say end of the day, Wednesday, you need to have this reported into your team chat. All right. So leading others, an emotionally intelligent leader fosters an environment of confidence, of safety, of accountability, and success for others. Having the mentality that you can be a master of leadership. Now, this does not mean you're the picture of perfection, but you can master leadership skills that it takes to lead your team in the direction that they need, not just the direction that you think they need. Most people, they don't go to bed at night worried about gut health. They just don't. So we're talking about this with potentials and with your current team members, with your VIPs who are not yet sharing. They are hopefully on triplex and feeling amazing and their gut health is great. But even prior to that, they were not going to bed at night worried about gut health. Most people go to bed at night worried about finances and how that impacts their life big time in big ways. And that's uncomfortable. And this is the part that's so important about leading others. So customer care and retention that we talked about in week 1, 2 weeks ago, completely different pillar for a very specific reason. And this is all about leading people in this business and the importance of that, because it's big time scary out there when you step outside and how expensive life is right now and how vitally important it is that we are leading people to making an extra income with this business. Our job title is to love and to serve people well. And that is not something that you can do quickly. Let that sink in. Your job is to love people and to serve them well. And that is not a rushed process. There is no timeline on that. There is no expiration date on how you love and serve people on your team. And that is not something that you can do in 1 to 2 weeks or 90 days. So while you can help people grow their skills so they're not as dependent upon you and you're just helping to guide them in the right direction, it is still your job as long as they are underneath you as a team member, no matter how inconsistent they are, no matter how their recruiting numbers are, no matter how their leadership lid is, like, it does not matter. Your responsibility when you had the conversation with them to sign them up and help them get started on the products and help them get started in sharing is that you promise to love and serve them and you meet them where they're at and you do that indefinitely. Do not be so focused on the path to where you want to be. So in other words, the ranks, your dream rank. I'm sure you think about it all the time. Oh, if I could just get to Ruby, life would be so different. Don't be so focused on the path that you miss the person. The people are what builds your business. And you have to lead them and you have to love them well. Leadership is visual. People do what people see. So take an inventory of that. Some of the questions that I've asked tonight, be super honest with yourself and where you're at with your business. Are your people following suit with you? Are they shadowing what you're doing? Or maybe they're just not, and maybe they need some other help, but they do what they see. People buy into leaders before they buy into vision. People follow leaders that embody good values and they express them consistently. So the second part of that is so important, you guys. It's not just that you have good values. I believe you're all really great people, but are you expressing those values consistently? And we're going to touch on some of those values of leaders in a minute here. In other words, again, you have to walk the walk. You cannot just talk the talk. You can't tell your team to do things while you're not doing them. It does not mean that you have to be like recruiting 12 people a month or anything in order for your team to show up and be great recruiters. But it's the consistency of everything. As long as you're showing up and taking actionable steps towards that matters so much. Okay, so a little bit of another activity here. Values of a good leader. So if you are able to, I would say take a screenshot of this, and we can also send this list in our team chat afterwards if you guys would like. But these are some values of a good leader that I could think of: empowerment and development, vision, communication, patience, empathy, humility, resilience, accountability, character, integrity. So these are the values of a good leader that I could think of. And what I want you to do is I want you to go through there in that list and I want you to pick out the 3 that really stand out to you, that like speak to you as the person as you are, as the leader that you aspire to be, or the leader that you feel you are, the values, the 3 top values that mean the most to you. And I want you to also share those in your team chat. Fully developed leaders, they care, they're honest, they lean into problems to get results, and they spot a hidden asset somebody has and then they show them how to access it. So you lead people and you guide people towards the excellence that they are capable of. I hope everybody has this list saved. If you don't, we'll share it in our chat. Okay, and then our reflection. Am I appropriately pushing my team members to be better or to be more? What specifically are you challenging your team members to do better at? The reason I put pictures of Brooke and Amanda up here are because these two are both bosses. Like they're so good at this business for completely different reasons. And they also have totally different personalities. They're the ones that I work with most closely, and they require a totally different approach. So just because I think my personality is a certain way, or my learning style is a certain way, or the way I might want to say something, I have to say it maybe a little bit differently to Brooke than I would to Amanda, or vice versa. And so what specifically then are you challenging your team members to do better at? And how are you approaching those people depending on what they need? What specifically are you challenging your teammates to do that is more than they are doing now? Are you actively pushing your teammates outside of their comfort zone? And if you are, how so? And when you observe your team member resisting or struggling, how do you step into helping them address those feelings? Or do you remain firm in helping them see their need to grow in that area? Or do you kind of just let them flounder because it feels uncomfortable to address with them? These are the things as a leader that you have to be willing to step into. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to be the person who is going to speak up on somebody's behalf and challenge them. You can do that with all of the love in the world and not make people feel ashamed. I do believe that's a skill that you have to develop. You have to be tactful, respectful, have empathy for people, but you can totally like basically ride both sides of that fence where you're going to give them some tough love. But ultimately you can meet them where they're at and then continue to help them grow and work through those things. The last thing is talking about cultivating culture. So this picture is of Kim is my upline. For those of you who don't know, she's on the far right. And then I'm below her, and then Brooke on the far left is below me, and Lindsay and Leah are both below Brooke. And we all became, well, Brooke became a jewel in 2019, but we all ranked up. So Brooke had ranked up to Sapphire, and the rest of us to Emerald in 2020, in June and July. So it was like all in a little window of time. And this was the night that we went, and we all went and test drove Lexuses, none of which were purchased at all, but we had the best time. And then we went and got dinner afterward. And I remember sitting at the table at dinner, and it was payday. And we all got our emails for our paychecks. And I don't remember the exact amount, but we ended up openly tallying our paychecks together. And it was like, I swear it was like $30,000. Maybe one of the girls can vouch for that. But it was like, it was somewhere for sure upwards of 20. And we were sitting there and we're like, holy crap, we're just five people who like sharing about pink drinks and feeling good. And we just made all of us combined like $30,000. The reason we got to that point and the amount of people we were able to help because of that is because the five of us founded our team on culture. And it was something that was so vital in the growth of our team, the explosive growth that we had within our team that we experienced. And that was the biggest thing that we heard, the feedback that we heard over the last several years is that people so valued the culture that they came into. Some people would come from different network marketing companies and they're like, whoa, this is so different than what I had at my last company. Like it was not like this at all. I didn't feel supported. I didn't have friends or a family that I felt like I came into or people that I could trust or support and whatever else. And so while I think systems are super important, culture is what makes people stick around. And so if you are in a leadership position, this is something that you need to place high on your priority list is figuring out how to develop a culture that people want to be a part of and that they want to stick around for. Um, Ultimately, people desire three core things. They want to be challenged, they want to be known, and they want to be loved. And if you can meet all of those needs and those areas and the desires for people, you're going to be in a really, really great place, despite whatever lack of systems you might have, or if you're not the best recruiter or whatever. If you can challenge them and you can know where they're coming from, you can know their goals, you can know their wants, their dreams, their desires, their hangups, their habits, the things that move them day to day in life. And you can love them well, you're going to be really, really good. Cultivating culture through love languages. This is something I believe in big time. If you are not hip to the 5 love languages, I would definitely encourage you to do a little bit of researching into that because I 100% believe it can be applied into your Plexus business and how you lead people since they need to be loved. So if you can meet them where they're at, not only can you learn how to love on them specifically, but also it helps you in those other categories. You understand them better. So they want to be known. And when you meet their love language, then they feel really heard and they feel super supported. And you also can understand how to challenge them then if you know what their love language is. And that's like a super great place to be. So if there's anything where you're confused on how to create culture and how to start figuring out like the mix of what people want to be a part of, if you have no idea where to start, this is where I would start if I were you. Figuring out people's love languages. Don't discount the power that meeting somebody's basic level of love needs can do to transform the way that they feel about their approach to Plexus. Point number 2, recognize everything, literally everything. Recognition. We all know how that feels, and you might be the only person to give that somebody on your team a compliment that day. That is always in the back of my mind. I might be the only person to say something nice to them today. I know at my old job, my boss was not a very nice lady, and she was not openly supportive and encouraging. She just was not. And I got through that, but it was not super enjoyable. I definitely cried several times at work because of her. And that is not the type of leader that I aspire to be. Although I'm not somebody's boss, I do lead people and I never want to make people cry. But I want to recognize them for everything and make them feel loved that way and seen for their work and their actions, not just the results. People are loyal to culture, not to strategy. And good culture ends up looking like engagement, retention, productivity, team identity, top performers, and a super healthy environment. All of which I think we could agree that is what we would love for our Plexus business to be looking like. Because when we have all of those things in place and we have that good culture, that means we are thriving. We're thriving in business. It's something people want to be a part of. It's something that's easy to love and enjoy and find passion in and go share that and put that out into the world. Um, Culture is about making people feel good about how they contribute to the whole. Culture is the backbone of any successful organization. So that is all I have for the presentation part of things. But I'm going to go back through the chat and read some of these things. And I really hope that you guys feel encouraged walking away from this tonight. This, as I said, this was like a tough one for me to get on here and feel like, who am I? I am not perfect in my leadership. I am not perfect in the way I do my Plexus business, but I feel passionate about leading people well, and I feel passionate about serving them well. And I really, really want you guys to develop your leadership skills and raise your leadership lid and have it be something that you can be passionate about too, because we are in a network marketing company. If you did not know that, you're in a network marketing company that requires you to be a part of something bigger than just you. It requires you to be a part of something that's bigger than growing your paycheck. You can go get a 9 to 5 if you want to get paid for something where you don't have to speak to people and it does not require anything more of you. But if you want to be a part of this business and you want to do well in it, lean into leadership big time. You can do it. I believe in you guys. I believe we can create a team of strong leaders, and that will rise up more jewels within this team. I'm so proud of every single one of you for getting on here tonight. Thank you again for taking time out of your week, and let's go crush it the remainder of this week and end of month.